You walked into a room today and wondered what people thought of you. Maybe you said something at work and immediately replayed it in your mind, searching for what went wrong. Maybe you posted something and watched the numbers. Maybe you stayed quiet when you wanted to speak, because the judgment of strangers felt heavier than your own voice. You are not weak for feeling this. You are human. But here is what almost nobody tells you. This hunger for approval is one of the oldest chains ever forged. And nearly 2,000 years ago, a man who ruled the entire Roman Empire, a man with more power than you or I will ever know, wrote to himself in a private journal about how enslaved he felt to the opinions of others. And then he wrote down how he broke free. That man was Marcus Aurelius, and what he discovered still works today. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome from 161 to 180 AD. He was, by any measure, the most powerful person alive during his time. Yet the Meditations, his private journals, never meant to be published, reveal a man in constant inner struggle. He faced plague, war, betrayal, and political enemies who mocked him behind closed doors. He was not born a philosopher king. He was trained by Stoic teachers, most notably Epictetus, whose ideas reached him through written records. Epictetus himself had been a slave, literally owned by another man, and yet he developed one of the most psychologically liberating philosophies ever conceived. Both men, separated by circumstance, arrived at the same truth. What other people think of you is not yours to control, and everything you sacrifice chasing their approval is a piece of your life you will never recover. Here is the core teaching, the one that everything else grows from. Epictetus opens the Enchiridion, his handbook on Stoic living, with a single idea that sounds simple until you truly sit with it. He writes, "Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control include our own opinions, impulses, desires, and aversions. Things not in our control, and he is explicit here, include reputation, status, and what other people think of us." Marcus Aurelius absorbed this and carried it into the Meditations. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is what Stoic philosophy calls the dichotomy of control, not a self-help slogan, a precise philosophical claim. Your inner world, your judgments, your values, your character, belongs entirely to you. The outer world, including every opinion anyone has ever formed about you, does not. When you spend energy managing how you appear, you are investing in territory you do not own. You are building on land that belongs to someone else. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, asked himself repeatedly, "Why are you troubled by what passes through another person's mind? Their judgment lives inside them. It cannot reach you unless you let it in." He wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Read that again slowly. We love ourselves more than others, and yet we hand others the power to define us. That is the contradiction Stoic wisdom asks you to resolve. Now let's be honest about why this is genuinely difficult. Modern life is not neutral on this subject. It is actively designed to intensify your sensitivity to social judgment. Every metric, likes, views, followers, ratings, converts human approval into a number you can measure and compare. The dopamine hit of validation is real. The sting of criticism or silence is real. Evolutionary psychology suggests that social belonging once meant survival. Being rejected from the group in ancient human societies was genuinely dangerous. Your nervous system has not fully updated. The anxiety you feel when someone disapproves of you is an old alarm, wired deep, responding to a threat that, in most modern contexts, no longer exists. So do not be harsh with yourself. The pull toward approval is not a character flaw. It is a feature of being human in a social world. What Stoic philosophy offers is not the elimination of that feeling. It offers a set of practices that make you less obedient to it. Here is how to actually apply this. Practical Stoicism, the kind Marcus Aurelius lived every day. The first practice is what Stoics call the morning preparation. Before your day begins, before you check anything, spend 2 minutes in quiet. Remind yourself that today, people will have opinions about you. Some will approve, some will not. Some will misunderstand you entirely. This is not a crisis. It is simply how human beings work. You are not preparing to be indifferent to people. You are preparing to be grounded in your own values so that the noise does not move you off course. The second practice is the question Marcus Aurelius returned to constantly in his meditations. What is actually at stake here? When you feel the anxiety of social judgment rising, someone rolled their eyes, someone did not respond, someone disagreed publicly, pause and ask yourself, is my character harmed? Have I acted against my own values? If the answer is no, then you have lost nothing of real value. The discomfort you feel is real. The threat is not. The third practice comes from Epictetus directly. He taught his students to regularly examine who they are performing for. Before you speak, before you post, before you hold back, ask, am I doing this because it is the right thing or because of how it will look? Not every answer will be comfortable. That is the point. Stoic self-improvement begins with honest self-examination, not flattery. The fourth practice is the evening reflection. At the end of the day, ask 3 questions. Where did I live according to my values? Where did I let the fear of judgment override them? What would I do differently tomorrow? Seneca, the Stoic philosopher and advisor to emperors, wrote that he reviewed his entire day before sleep, not to condemn himself, but to understand himself. He called this the care of the soul, and it is available to you tonight. Now consider the transformation that becomes possible when you consistently practice the Stoic method, returning to what you control, grounding yourself in your own values, refusing to assign your peace of mind to the judgments of others. Something shifts. You become quieter, not withdrawn, but settled. The restless scanning for approval, the constant question of how am I being perceived, begins to lose its urgency. You stop editing yourself before you speak. You stop replaying conversations. You start showing up as the version of yourself that actually exists, rather than the performance. This is what emotional resilience looks like from the inside, not numbness, not armor. It is the deep steadiness that comes when your sense of worth is no longer outsourced to other people's fluctuating opinions. Marcus Aurelius described this state simply. He wrote that the true measure of a person is what they do when no one is watching, not for the approval of posterity, not even for their own comfort, simply because it is the right thing to do. Zoom out for a moment. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology is only recently catching up to. We suffer not from events themselves, but from our interpretation of events. The opinion someone holds of you is an event. What you make of it, whether you treat it as a verdict on your worth or simply as noise passing through someone else's mind, that interpretation is entirely yours. Seneca wrote, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." This is the foundation of what would later become cognitive behavioral therapy. But Seneca arrived at it in the 1st century AD. The Stoics were not practicing modern Stoicism as a trend. They were mapping the structure of human suffering and offering a way through it that does not depend on circumstances changing. It depends on you changing, specifically on what you decide to care about. Amor Fati, love of fate, is the Stoic invitation to embrace what is, including the parts that are uncomfortable, including the disapproval of others, not because you are indifferent, but because you have decided that your life is too short and too valuable to be held hostage to someone else's opinion of it. You walked into a room today and wondered what people thought of you. Marcus Aurelius walked into the Roman Senate for decades, surrounded by people who envied him, tested him, and judged him. And every morning before he faced them, he wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." He was not pretending the judgments did not exist. He was choosing deliberately where to place his attention, on what he could control, on who he wanted to be, on the values that no critic, no rival, no disappointed expectation could ever take from him. The Stoic method is not about caring less about people. It is about caring correctly, about what matters, about your own character, about living with integrity rather than performance. The question is not what they think of you. The question is, what do you think of yourself? Stoicism. Master your mind, master your life.